Hi, everybody. Welcome to season 2, episode 3 of PocaTV Live. A special edition this time. It's a tribute, my tribute, and hopefully yours as well, to educator and teacher Ed Fabisak. Here we go.
Give me this. Give me that. Give me this. Give me that. Give me that.
So, hi there, lovely people. Welcome again to season 2, episode 3 of Poca TV Live. My name is Poca, which stands for People of Common Attitude, but some of you might know me by my proper name, Aldith Hunkar. Aldith Hunkar, depends on where you are on the globe. I really don't mind very much, as long as you spell it correctly. This is that monthly, what shall we say, fest, my party with the rest of the world, that special day on which I link up with my fabulous friends across the globe and talk to you and them about the great stuff they do. But today is a special edition. I am not going to be joined by somebody whose life will be told by themselves. I will be telling you about the life of somebody who played quite a large role in my own life. My history teacher, geography teacher, social studies teacher, when I was in my early teens, Mr. Ed Fabisak. I will get into it right away, but there's a couple of things for the people watching for the first time that I always get through before I actually make it to the topic of the day. First of all, while you're here on YouTube or on Facebook, please subscribe to YouTube and like the Facebook page so that you can keep abreast of all the stuff that I do live or pre-recorded. I do a lot of stuff pre-recorded as well. Did you know that? I have a lot of specials on travel and on reggae and on Jamaica. Just have a look on Poca TV, whether that be on YouTube or on Facebook. I am asking you today to join me live if you too were a student of Ed Fabisak's. I will be telling you how to get inside my studio in just a little while. But if that's not your wish, I know my sister was there just a little bit earlier, but for some reason she exited the place. She will be back in a bit. But if you don't wish to be here live in the studio with me, but you still wish to participate in this program, wherever you're watching, be that YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook, just write me a comment and I will see it here in my software, and I will like this. I'm seeing a comment from my sister in Jamaica already, Donna Mattis, saying sorry for my loss. Yes, Donna, some teachers are bigger than others in our lives, and this was a little shock to hear that he had passed on. But we'll get into that. Thank you for joining, and maybe you'd like to participate in another way while you're watching. So that's how comments go. If you have a memory of Mr. Ed Fabisak, just type it on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're watching this, and I can get you into the program the same way I did with Donna Mattis just now. But I'd much prefer it if you came inside the studio. And like I said earlier, I will be letting you know how to do that specifically in just a little while. But before I get to that, like I said, there's a couple of things I always get through at the beginning of these programs. The first one being my livication to my youngest sister, Aisha, who was such a great big fan of Poca TV's that I really, really must livicate every single live program I do to her. These were her hands. We were in Jamaica at the time in 2008, and we visited the bird sanctuary in St. James Parish, where you can sit quietly which a lot of tourists just don't seem to be able to do. Sit quietly with a little bottle of honey or sugar water and your finger out there like a bird's perch. And then the birds come and feed on your finger, which is what was, of course, did happen to Aisha. Birds never come to me, maybe because they know I'm afraid they'll get tangled inside my dreadlocks, and so they stay away from me. But this was her hands, and she was very happy that she was successful that day in attracting one of the doctor birds, a national bird in Jamaica. Aisha died 11 years ago, this coming April. She died of thyroid cancer, and she left behind a lot of friends who have, kind of bundled together, keeping her memory alive. And this is my way of doing that. Every single PocaTV live will forever be livicated to Aisha, never forgotten. So, warm welcome to all the people watching the rerun. I must never forget that you people are there as well, boosting my view count. So welcome whenever you're watching this. It's great to have you here. And it's, of course, totally at your discretion whether or not you want to react to the program in any way by, sending a comment or subscribing or liking the page. I don't really mind how. I'm happy to have you with me today. So, like I said, I am Poca. Let me know who you are and where you are watching from. The last thing I get through before I start the tribute is what went on in this program last month. Last month, I always show a clip of my former guest. Last month, my guest was Kimberly McRae, who is a life and thought innovator, an activist, and a poet. And as you can imagine, we got into things really deeply. And, it was inevitable that we had to talk about the role of women in this world. And we kind of agreed on a couple of things. And one of them being that the fact that we are stuck with patriarchy. I mean, don't blame me. Just read your newspaper and you'll know that it's true what I'm saying. We are all stuck with patriarchy. But it's not only the men's fault, is what we agreed on. This is what Kimberly had to say.
As you mentioned earlier, at one point there were matriarchal society, like predominantly matriarchal societies, and now all of a sudden there's this patriarchal stuff that kind of overshadows everything. Somewhere in there we have to take ownership for the ways that we have either participated in it or the ways that we have been complicit and overlooked it and allowed the shift to happen that has been very damaging to a lot of people in this world.
Yes, all I can do to that is, yay, Kimberly. That was the text to use in a situation like this. Let's not only blame the men. I mean, they are at fault for a lot in this world. But we women really should step up too and take our role and raise our children better. I mean, I don't have children, but you do. And I at least did my best in my work raising proper children. And so that's what we need to do, especially raise better men so that when they come of age, they don't think that their wife or their girlfriend or their partner is, somebody who cleans up after them and you know the drill. Yeah, this is where I tell you how you can join me live. If you're watching anywhere, you can scan this code. This is a QR code that will take you to this program, to the studio. You will be backstage in the orange room where my sister Adrienne is waiting right now. I will get to you, Adrienne. I hope you're hearing me. I think you are. And if you're watching on a laptop or a computer, which actually is a better idea, use this link, bit.ly PTVL0203. It is case sensitive. Use the capital letters, PocaTV Live 0203, and go there. Remember, if you use your phone on the QR code, hold your phone horizontally. We don't want this kind of picture. We want horizontal pictures. And please, in any case, if you want to join this program, wear headphones so we don't get this loop going on. All right. So scan it on your phone or join me on that link on your laptop or your computer, close every other application just to be on the safe side. I know I'm asking a lot, but this is a tribute to Mr. Ed FABISAK, and we need to take it seriously. I hope I will remember to add these to your stream again later, so that if you join in later, then you can still join the program live. So here we go. Quick look in the comment section. There's people already saying stuff there. There is DJ Conscious. Welcome, DJ. I know you were very, curious about what was going to happen in this program. So am I. Let me start by saying I have no idea how long this will take. It all depends on you, whether you join in or whether you let me do this whole thing by myself. Either way, let's just do it and have fun talking and thinking about Mr. Ed FABISAK. And this is how he looked. He was born on the 8th of July, 1939. He was born in Compton in California. Compton, we mostly know about gang wars and rap. I love the rap. I'm not so sure I like the gang wars, but that's where Mr. FABISAK was born on the 8th of July, 1939, and he died at the end of January. I'm not sure exactly what date, but it must have been the 29th, 30th of January that he passed on. And he was 82 at the time. He just didn't make it to 83, which would have been coming up in July. Yes, so here's an American man born and raised in California, but most of us know him from his years in Brazil. I'm not really sure how he got to Brazil, but he spent most of his life there, and he also died there. So we'll get through this the way we can. And what I've been doing, I've been researching his life, mostly through his Facebook page, on which he told quite a lot about himself, actually. Well, him being a history teacher, I'm sure he felt the need to leave behind some information on who he was in life. So I spent quite a lot of time on his Facebook page the past couple of days. And, when you snoop around as a journalist, you find quite a lot of information. And being a journalist, I'm not really very scared to maybe reach out to people I don't know. So I asked a couple of people left and right if they had anything to share about Mr. Ed, as we used to call him affectionately. And some people did respond. This is something that I found on his page. His parents. Oh, hold on. Where's the picture? Sure. No, it's right here. I wanted to say first, before I get to his parents, that this happened yesterday. I got a Facebook reminder. I mean, isn't that uncanny? Yesterday, the 24th of March, 6 years ago in 2016, was the day that I linked up with Mr. FABISAK on Facebook. And this is what I posted that day, because I wanted my other Facebook friends to know about him. So I said, meet Mr. Ed FABISAK, my history teacher, when I attended the American School of Recife in Brazil in my early teens. I guess it's fair to say he was and still is a major influence on the way I view the world. So thank you for sanity and independent thought, Mr. Ed. Isn't it uncanny that is yesterday's Facebook reminder? I really didn't know what to think when it popped up on my screen, but there you are. I think everything means something in life, and I don't know what this means, but it must mean something. So that was yesterday, and here I go now to Mr. FABISAK's parents, Francis and Edward. So he was named after his father. We don't know much about his mother, Frances. All I know is her name. But I do know a little bit more about Edward FABISAK. He was an army man, as you can tell. In the bomb squad in the army is what I call it. I'm not sure it's the right word, but that's where he worked at, the department where they deal with bombs. He was honorably discharged in 1945. You must know that in my Mr. Ed's early days, because of his father's work, he lived with his mother's family for a couple of years because his father was all over the place. And then at a certain point, I think it was when he was discharged in 1945, the family moved to San Diego because his dad then worked as a civil servant electrician for the army, which he did for 35 years. And that is when our Mr. Ed Fabisak was raised in San Diego in California. So as I was telling you, I reached out to a couple of relatives of Ed's, and one of them responded. I was asking about some background information because you know how it goes with your teacher. You know their names and you know what they teach you, but you don't necessarily know their private life. You don't know much about, you know, their partners or their parents or where they were raised. And one of his relatives actually got in touch with me, Ms. Karen Weaver, who is a cousin of sorts. I'm not quite sure of how they are linked, because she tells us that she didn't meet him very often. In fact, only once many years ago. They were of Polish descent, which explains the name Fabisak, probably Fabisak. I'm not sure. She tells us that Ed grew up in California, which I was just telling you. She doesn't know much about his mother either, but his father was Edward, like I was saying. And his father, so my Mr. Ed's grandfather's name was John Fabisak, which he changed to Faber. And that was probably because in those years, being of Polish descent wasn't, let's say, applauded in the United States. So many people took on an English-sounding name, and Ed's grandfather, John, changed his last name to Faber, but Mr. Ed kept his name Fabisak. So John's parents were Stanislav and Adamina, and they are the ones who emigrated from Poland to the United States in the late 1800s. That's invaluable information. Thank you very much, Ms. Weaver, for sharing that with me. So here is our Mr. Ed in San Diego at the time. Remember, his dad was discharged and became this electrician for the army. And Mr. Ed went to school in San Diego and was quite the athlete. He ran for the San Diego State College track team in the late 1950s. And he didn't just run. We're seeing him here in 58 with, let me see if I can read the names, Bob Larson, Bill Gallagher, and Bob Gallagher, and Ed Fabisak. And guess who won? Yes, he did. Our Mr. Fabisak, he won. He won a couple of gold medals, actually, in the track team. So he let us know on his Facebook page at some point that he wished he might have pursued athletics, but that, you know, leads us to think that maybe being a teacher wasn't his favorite thing to be, but we actually thought it was because we loved him so much and he was such a great, fantastic teacher. So here he was, the athlete, winning these gold medals, running for the state team, and commenting on his own Facebook page on his, what he calls his bulging muscles. And also, how did he put that? He called it his Joe, where is it? I'm not finding it. Oh, yes. The display of perfect stamina and the body coordination. So here's a sportsman at heart, which actually became one of his many in my life later, but I'll get to that when I do. Let's hail up the athlete who won so many gold medals first, Ed Fabisak, the state team of San Diego. Let me see. So yes, the bulging muscles, I'm sure he had a good laugh about that. Apart from doing athletics, he was also a student, probably history. I'm not sure, but I gather it must have been. Otherwise, why would they have given him, you know, permission to teach young souls like myself the intricacies of how this world came to be the way it is? Well, so I'm gathering he studied history. And it must have been around those years when he met his sweetheart, Anna, whom he married and stayed with for many, 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 many years after that. They had 2 children on whom I will touch later. I'm not sure how Anna is doing now, if she is still with us and if she is healthy and well. I'm not sure if that is the case. If so, Anna Fabisak, we never met, but I'm so sorry for your loss, and you must miss him dreadfully, as do we all. Yes, that was Anna Fabisak. Let me do a quick look in my orange room, and because my eldest sister Adrienne has been waiting in the orange room for quite a while. Hi there, Adrienne.
Hi.
I'm so glad you're joining. Did you use the QR code, or did you use the link? I'm wondering.
I used the QR code.
So you're doing this on your telephone the way I asked you to do it, holding your phone horizontally. That's fantastic.
Actually, I used the code on my phone to activate my tablet. I'm watching everything on the tablet.
Excellent. It all seems to work, and I'm hearing you perfectly. So
Good.
you're my eldest sister. You are 4 years
I am.
older than I am. So you were Mr. FABISAK student for quite a while, longer than I was. What is the one thing you would say you remember of him?
Well, what I mostly remember, we used to fight like cats and dogs. I think it was his effort to teach me to listen very carefully, to be able to debate. So he would come with something completely crazy and sort of, tease me with it, and I would blow off the handle, and then finally I would find out that by looking at his eyes, I would sometimes see that he was actually egging me on. What I get from him mostly is the fact that he, alongside with our parents, taught me that history is never one point of view. It is, take for example, the Second World War. If you read British history, it's going to be different than American history or African history or European history, and all of the same events.
Exactly. So he taught us to look at all sides of anything, right?
He always said, make sure you read as many versions as possible and make up your own mind.
Now that is one thing that I remember very well as well, that he used to teach us to make up our own minds and not follow what anybody else was saying.
Exactly. So he taught.
On a personal note, did you like him? Because he was a weird kind of man.
I liked him when I didn't see him anymore. for the very reason that sometimes you realize what people mean to you or what they bring into your life at a later date, and not necessarily when they are actually teaching you that. I know that I was always fascinated by his classes. I didn't always agree with him, but then who was I? I mean, I was a high school student as well. But he would sometimes make you do research on something, and then you form your opinion, and then he'd come and then sort of destroy it. Right. And what he taught me is that's the way that debates go. You have to listen, distill, analyze, form your own opinion, and then go back.
Exactly. It's funny. I can underwrite everything you say, because that is the memories I have of him as well. Anything specific that helped you along in your own life or influenced you in such a way that you went left or right at some point?
Oh, absolutely. I think that without having realized that every country has its own history, to put it that way, made me very curious to go and actually go out to countries and see what their history was and how they deal with it, and how they tell themselves stories and stuff like that.
Yeah. You did quite a lot of travels yourself, and that must have come in handy at those times. I'm seeing
Absolutely.
a comment from a comment from DJ Conscious saying he sounds like the teacher I never had, but should have had.
I would wish a teacher like that on anyone.
On anybody, exactly. Apart from maybe the impatience that he had, but we'll get into that later. Thank you so much, Adrienne, for this. Anything you would like to say to everybody watching?
No, what I would like to say is to his children that I am very, very, very sorry that he's gone. So my condolences. And Aldith, for your information, Anna died a couple of years ago.
I thought as much. I wasn't quite
Yeah,
sure. I thought as much. Well,
yeah.
there
She
you
was
go.
ill for quite some time, and then
Mhm.
unfortunately she died.
Yes. Well,
Yeah,
thank you for that extra information. Thank you very
that's all
much.
right. Yeah,
And once again, thank you for joining me. You can. I'm going to kick you out of the studio. You
of
can go
course.
back to watching wherever it is that you watch normally. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Adrienne. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bye. Oh, so that was my my eldest sister, Adrienne. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you feel inclined to do the same, let me put up the thing again. I'm so chuffed with my little QR code. So, and I guess I just changed my mind. Even if you were not a student of Mr. Fabisax, but there's something you'd like to say about what you're learning here today, just join the live stream and let me know. It's the more the merrier. Okay. Let me put up the thing for people who want to do it on their laptop. That's the link to use. It's case sensitive. Bit.ly PocaTV Live 0203. Hope to see you later in this program. So let me see, where did I remain? I was telling you that Mr. Ed was this teacher that we all loved. And in fact, if I look on his Facebook page, I see quite an outpouring from students who are sharing their memories with the rest of us. This is a picture shared with one of his students who was a student of his in the 1990s. There he is in his classroom, history, as you can tell, and with the map of the world behind him, because he also taught us geography and social studies. And this picture was shared with Raquel Soto. And Raquel, I don't know her because she came a couple of years after I left already. But she does say that Mr. Ed not only taught her the love of history, but also for journalism, which is exactly what happened in my case. I became a journalist in large part because of Mr. Fabisack. He could always search for meaningful current events and stories to connect with his students, to make them think, like my sister was saying, and to raise awareness. I still remember struggling while trying to finish the world map. Now, the world map, that is a story that everybody who was Mr. Ed's student in 7th grade, which is the first class of secondary school, anybody in the 7th grade knows about the world map. Mr. Fabisack came up with the luminous idea to have us invent our own world, but according to all the laws of physics and biology and science and climate that we know here on Earth. So we had to make this world map. First, we had to invent it and how it looked, but it could not be just anything. It had to be according to those rules. And then he made us do a whole, like a real atlas. We made an entire atlas. We had to talk about the population in different parts of our world and how they adapted to the climate in their part of the world. It was all about ocean currents and about winds, and God only knows what he taught us. He taught us everything that you could find in an atlas, and it had to be our own world that we had invented and drawn. He gave us an entire year to do that map project. And many of us still wake up at night screaming because, we didn't think we'd ever get it done. And he was extremely critical about every phase that we were in, hanging over our shoulder, telling us, no, that sea current cannot go there because look, the other one goes there. And what did I teach you? That was a teacher he was. It had to be perfect. I guess he wanted all that was in us to come out. He was that kind of teacher. So apart from the map project, we also had book projects. Now, book projects was when he told us to go to the library. We had a fantastic library. This was an American school. You know how they are equipped. We had a great library, and he would assign us a topic which was not necessarily anything we would have chosen. In fact, I think he did his best to choose topics that we didn't find interesting. And then we had to go to the library and look up all kinds of information on that and make a book report. I remember one very, very, very boring one I had to do on the Panama Canal. And he was very critical, and nothing I did was right. But in the end, I passed just for that book report. I believe we had 3 book reports in a year. We had that map project. And like I was saying, he was an impatient man. He wasn't the come here, let me hold your hand kind of teacher. He was the what did I tell you yesterday? Why are you not doing it type of teacher. Very impatient. But like I said, he probably wanted everything that was in us to come out. And he, like he was in a rush, he was there pulling it from us and not being, very nice about it. But it stuck. Everything he taught us stuck. I remember years later having a little discussion with the weatherman at the news corporation I used to work, who actually drew the wind direction of a hurricane wrong on his, on his animation. And I told him, I said, did you check that? Because look here, it's above the equator. The thing goes the other way around. And he looked it up. He said, God, yes, you are right. I will rectify. So I wouldn't have known that if it wasn't for Mr. FABISAK. I'm sure of that. And I wouldn't have had, the self-confidence to go to the weatherman and tell him, no, your animation is wrong. Go correct it. Well, that's me. Let's see. I'm seeing some reactions here, because Donna Mattis, who was with us earlier, she's a teacher as well. She says, I don't dictate. I just put the information out there and let them process. Donna, I wonder, are you as strict as Mr. FABISAK was? Are you sometimes impatient when you taught your students something, and yet they come with an assignment and it's all wrong, and it's really not very difficult what you are asking from them, but still they're not paying attention? I wonder, are you patient with them at the time? Let me know that in the comments, Donna. I really want to know. And also let me know what kind of teacher you are. I don't know what you teach, so I really do want to know. Let us know, okay? Donna Mattis, that is. Yes, I was talking slightly about, his character. And the other teacher who was a great influence in my life, and who was probably even more instrumental in getting me on the path of journalism, was Mrs. Geirus. Mrs. Geirus was my teacher in the 6th grade, the last class of primary school. And she made me editor-in-chief of the school paper. And so she saw in me a journalist, and she reacted to the death of Mr. FABISAK by writing on his Facebook page the following thing. No, this is the wrong person. Sorry, let me see where I am. No, I'm not in the right spot in my program. Let me go back to Mr. Ed being my teacher in the 1970s. Sorry, people, this is a little bit muddled up. That's because I'm just going with the flow and I'm seeing where I'm going. This is how he looked in the 1970s when he was that teacher of mine. And I was telling you, apart from being this strict teacher, he was also a fun teacher, because anything going on extracurricular at the Escola Americana do Recife, Mr. FABISAK was part of it. So I remember at some point, instead of going to physical education, the entire high school of Escola Americana used to go to the beach, and we'd stay there for a couple of hours, diving in the water, looking for sea urchins, getting all kinds of education that you don't get if you get stuck in a classroom. And of course, who was there to be our guardian? There was Mr. FABISAK. I'm not thinking that this is a particularly elegant picture of him, but that's not the kind of man he was. Elegant was not what he was, as you can tell by the picture on the right. During one of the many talent nights that we had at the school, there he was dressed up as a woman. I was telling you, not particularly political correct in today's way of thinking, but he was always there when something went on. And apart from that, because he was that sportsman, he was way, way, way into our sports business at the American school. Sports in any American school is a huge thing. So I believe he was our coach for volleyball, and I believe he was our coach for basketball as well, and most definitely for anything track, long jump, high jump, 100 meters, long distance. I don't know. He was always there. And you can tell by his demeanor, there he is telling us the way it should be, the way he has his vision, and he knows that we can do it, but he's like my sister was saying, egging us on to do it the way that he knew would get the maximum results. Fantastic to see him there. I'm seeing my other sister has joined the live stream. I'm going to put her up now. Hi, Angelique. Put up the screen a bit more like that. Yeah. How are you today?
I'm great.
You're great. Thank you for joining.
Sorry, I'm a bit late.
It's all right, because I'm just taking it as it comes, and you are my second person live here in the live stream. You're the sister right above me. 2 years difference. What are your memories of Mr. FABISAK?
Well, when I think of him, I particularly remember the science project.
The science project?
Well, not the science project.
No, the map
the
project.
project where we had actually to create a world of our own complete with oceans and flows and countries and climates, and that really taught us how everything is connected, and I really love that about this class. That's what stands out in my memory.
Yes, I was just telling about my own experiences with that map project. Do you still have yours? Because I ransacked my entire place, but no, I don't have it anymore.
I don't think I have mine either. No.
Did you get a good grade at the end of the year for your map project?
Oh yes, absolutely. Because I think that was the year that I skipped a class.
I remember you were this genius child, and yes, you were. So that means you skipped 7th grade, right?
Yep.
So how come you still did the map project? Because that was his 7th grade project.
I don't think I skipped
every class, not maybe every class.
No. I'm not sure if I skipped at the beginning of the year. I might have skipped halfway the year.
Ah, that could be. Yeah, that could be. So what was your world like? Was it a friendly place, the world that you created?
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember that much. That was a long time ago.
It was
So,
a very long time ago. Yeah.
Yes.
But it's funny to see that how many students who are reacting to his passing on, how many students are actually naming the map project. So I think it's something fantastic that he came up with. Did it teach you anything that was of any use to you later? I was just telling about the time that I told the weatherman at the news station that his hurricanes were moving the wrong way, and he went back and checked it, and I was right. So what did it bring you doing that map project?
Well, what really stands out is the way the ocean currents work and how they get together at the equator and then sort of skim each other and go back the other way. I also always found that really fascinating, that you have these two currents that meet somewhere halfway around the globe and then do not mingle, but turn back to make sort of a circular movement. I always thought that was very fascinating.
Yeah, this north and south, but that's just they go like that. I will never forget. Right. Yeah. So what is it you would like to? I don't know what's peeping, Angelique. Is something peeping on your end?
Yeah, because I'm at home and I'm not
You're
alone, so
okay,
other people are making noises.
Well, they're entitled to some Lebensraum, not too much, but a little of that. Anything you would like to share with people watching, or maybe his relatives who might be watching this at a later time?
Well, maybe haven't really thought about that. What I would like to share is that that he was a great teacher, and that I think he impacted all of our lives in a major way. Well, maybe I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, leave it at that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining, Angelique. I don't know if you want to watch the rest of it. If you do, and the same goes to Adrienne, I suggest you leave the studio and go check it, the rest of it on YouTube or on Facebook. But you're very
Great.
welcome to remain in the orange room if that's what you prefer. I'm fine with
Sure.
both. All right. So
All
thank you
right.
very much, and enjoy the
Welcome.
rest of the program. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. That was Angelique, my other sister. So, like I was saying, people are reacting to his death, and Mrs. Gayrus, the other teacher I was telling you about, the one who made me editor-in-chief of the school paper. She became a faculty member at some point, and she reacted, I suppose, on behalf of the old colleagues. This is interesting what she says. He was difficult at times. Well, we've touched on that, but he cared about his students and he wanted them to be prepared. He often told Mrs. Gayrus that his coach taught the team to practice with weights on their ankles, on their shoes, and then in the real race, take off those weights and be able to, reach the finish line faster and be a winner. And I guess that's what he did. He put an extra load on us, the students, and then hope that at some point in our lives the weights would be taken off and we would be flying. So yeah, I guess that's a way of teaching. So Mrs. Gayrus is still with us. I hope that at some point you see this, because I want you to tell you now that you're with us, because I'm so sorry I didn't get the right opportunity to tell Mr. Ed when he was with us. So Mrs. Gayrus, I want you to know, yes, you've been instrumental in my life as well. If it hadn't been for you and Mr. Fabisak, I would never have become a journalist, let alone a global freestyle multimedia journalist. So thank you, Mrs. Gayrus, for everything you did for me. And thank you for responding to Mr. Ed's passing on behalf of all the former colleagues. Thank you so very much. So, let me see. In 2015, Mr. Fabisak actually let me know that he was proud of me. And the way he did it is he responded to a repost by Adrienne, who you just saw, my sister, my eldest sister. She reposted something that I posted about work that I had been doing on a global conference of a couple of days. The theme was abuse, domestic abuse, and the global network of women's shelters. And I hosted that in the Netherlands and a couple of years later in Taiwan. And the first edition, the one in the Netherlands, we started with let's call it a news bulletin. I was sitting on stage and, looking in the camera, and everybody in the room, there were 1,500 people there, watched it on the large screen. So it looked like the regular news. And during that bulletin, I told, I brought everybody up to speed on the latest data on the topic of domestic abuse and the global network of women's shelters. And Mr. Fabisak, he watched that bulletin and he told me on Adrienne's post that when he saw it, he had to cry because he was so proud of me. And trust me, I spent 2 days trying to find Adrienne's post, but Facebook is not letting me. So I don't have proof of this. But I know that he wrote that, and I know that we had a little, back and forth on that post, me telling him that, it was due to him that I am where I am now. So he expressed his pride at me, and I told him that, part of it was his doing. Once again, I really wish I could show you that conversation on Facebook, but I can't, because I can't find it. It will forever be a great memory, to me at least, of the man we are honoring today. Apart from Mrs. Gayrus, a couple of other students have reacted as well. Daniel Hickey, a couple of years older than I am, he said Mr. Fabisak emanated a funky brilliance that was just right for Danny at the time. He was a big part of what inspired him to always see the world upside down and to suspect those who had it all figured out. So again, somebody commenting on the way that Mr. Fabisak told us to be independent thinkers and not to take anything at face value. Jim Span also reacted. Regular viewers might remember Jim from my August 2021 PocaTV live when I talked to him about his work at NASA. He says Mr. Fabisak touched so many of us in unique ways. My sisters have been saying the same thing, all of which have made us better persons than we would have been otherwise. He had a way of always motivating Jim to do better. Well, I guess that worked out really well because Jim is now a very important man at NASA, you know, the space agency. And isn't it funny that Mr. Ed himself was fascinated with space? And I'm happy to see that he made it to NASA at some point. I'm not sure if Jim Span was the one who showed him around. I don't think he was, but Mr. Ed did fulfill a dream of going to NASA and, you know, checking out all the great gadgets they have there and feeling weightless and all of that. So yes, Jim and Danny, thank you for sharing that with us. And I just wish that one or two of you would have made it to this live program and talked a little bit more about who Mr. Ed was and what his role was in your lives. If you're watching and you're not letting me know, but you still think, you know what, let me join all this on this thing. Let me be part of PocaTV Live. Here is that QR code that you can scan and be a part of the program if you wish. I would love it. If you can't make it, that's okay. But now is your only chance. I have to be very clear on that, because once this live program is over, you can't join it anymore because it won't be live now, will it? So scan the QR code and join me in the studio if you so desire. What else do I know about him, about Ed Fabisak after his work? He at some point, I don't remember the date. He did mention it at some point, but he went into retirement. I mean, give the man a break. But instead of, you know, sitting down and eating cake all day, he really, you know, had a lovely time, always exerting himself, always trying something new, like this zip line thing across some canyon. And he was quite old at the time already, almost 80, I believe, at least, you know, in his 70s. There he was zip lining over some canyon, having a great time, feeling, you know, the old athletic blood running once again. I'm sure that has always remained in him. And not only did he do that, but he also went snorkeling and hiking a lot and swimming in waterfalls. And it's wonderful to see how people, you know, who finally have time, just don't go sit down and just try something new. Because snorkeling, really, he had to learn it from scratch. And there you see him underwater. I think it's fantastic. So he really enjoyed those last years of his life. Let me quickly look in the comments. I'm seeing some people there. Here is Danny. Danny, hi. Danny Hickey. Danny, I wonder, do you want to join me in the program? I wish you would. Let me put up that QR code for you. Use your phone, Danny. Hold it horizontally if you want to join me. Scan the code and it will get you to my studio. I hope you're there. If not, I don't want to put you on the spot. If you don't want to be here live, just share another memory that you have of Mr. Fabisak. That would be so truly, truly wonderful. I'm giving you the chance to hold up your phone to the QR code, Danny. Maybe I'm hoping against hope, but at least, you know, it's through you that I knew that he had passed on. I saw your post and I knew, something's up. And you are the one who actually told me that he had gone. So, well, maybe Danny isn't very ready to join the stream. Maybe you don't want to do it on your phone, Danny. You can do it on your laptop as well. Use this URL. It's case sensitive. PTVL stands for PocaTV Live. 0203 is season 2, episode 3. Either way you want to, if you want to join me there. Okay, like I said, I don't want to harass Danny Hickey. I'm glad that he's watching. That's already something really fantastic. So let me take down these very imposing, what shall I say, prompts to be a part of this program. Who else is there? Danny, I was saying yes. Yes, Donna Mattes, still remembering, still reacting to the question I asked her about what kind of teacher she was. And she says, yes, she also encourages research like Mr. Fabisak does. Here is Danny Hickey. I'm so glad you can join, Danny. Hi.
Hey, it's great to be here. I'm glad I caught you.
Yeah,
Almost missed it.
You did? Oh, I tagged you all over the place, but you know how these things go. I'm glad you understood all my prompts and you're here. So,
Yeah.
Danny, yeah, you're a couple of years my senior as well. So you had more experience with Mr. Ed than I did. Tell us how you remember him.
Well, he was a gift. He was his own person. He wasn't beholden to religion, and many of us were from religious families. He wasn't beholden to a certain brand of politics. He was just his own person, and that's what freed us up to be our own people.
Right.
That's the best way I can summarize it.
Yes. Did you even like his classes? History, geography, social studies, all of that. Did you enjoy those?
Yeah, no, I on the whole loved it. I remember I was in class, you know, with Johnny Trott, Jim Spann, Ray Fleet, and others, and it was always never boring. It was sometimes a little irritating in the attention to detail he wanted us to have, you know, particularly in the geography. But it was wonderful. I think I may have had a natural inclination for geography and cultures. In fact, I ran a cultural literacy company for about 3 years, and I owe that to him. We did a lot of Brazilian presentations in Kansas City and around, and would always talk about different cultures and kind of helping students in particular to see the world from another perspective.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a fantastic man he was, actually, because you may or may not know, I've been telling the viewers that I probably wouldn't be a journalist if it hadn't been for him and Mrs. Gayrus. They are the ones who set me on this path. So now I'm hearing you say he influenced your life as well. That's quite uncanny.
Yes, and yeah, that's a dynamic duo there, Mrs. Gayrus and Mr. Fabisak. They're probably the two greatest influences in my life in those years.
Yeah.
And actually, Mr. Fabisak was my coach at the time. You know, we had those yearly EAR games.
Yes.
And I had just gotten into distance running, and he went out and ran a 5K with me one day.
He ran with you?
With me, yes.
Wow.
And coached me on my pace and my strides, and that was one of my very few athletic claims to glory, is that I won the cross country run that year.
He must have been so proud of you, because I don't know if you know, but he won a couple of medals when he was in San Diego track team. He won a couple of gold medals at the time.
Yes, he did. He was one of the greats, and he you know, he wouldn't just come out and tell you that. You had to kind of dig it out of him. But yeah, he was a very talented cross country runner.
Yes. Do you know, because I actually don't know why he ended up in Brazil. What prompted him to go to Brazil?
Oh, that's a question I do not know the answer to. You know, I don't know if I know he married a Brazilian, and I don't know what that had to do with it. I think he went very young, though, right? He was in Brazil.
I think so, yes.
But I don't want to speculate. I just know that he had a very Brazilian heart in him as well. He did.
Yeah. Yeah, this is, let me see, where is it? I'm trying to find the picture of him, because you might have missed it, of him and Anna, whom he married. And I heard earlier that she's no longer with us, but kind of childhood sweethearts.
Yes.
And
great pictures. Yes.
Isn't it? Yeah. It's extraordinary what you can find on people's Facebook pages, Danny. A whole lot of information on people. So that was Anna. Did you know Anna?
I met her a couple times, but no, I didn't know her.
No, well, no. Right. Right. So what would you say was the biggest thing that you learned from Mr. Ed?
I think just not afraid to be yourself and not afraid to create a new self. He was totally himself, and at all moments didn't seem to deal with much fear about being himself. I don't know if you remember the famous "Don't get caught with your pants down" speech, but that was.
Tell the people who are watching.
Oh, well, okay, yeah, it was the annual. I can't remember if it was a graduation or, but it was a big event, and it was packed. And the speech was a call to responsibility, is what it was. It was a call to be prepared. I mean, obviously, don't take these sloppy explanations of the world, but dig in deep and find out what the world really is, and don't get caught unprepared.
Yeah.
The paradigm he used was he had everyone's full attention when he did it, and he didn't apologize for it later. It was a controversial thing at the time, but when you look at it from this point of view, it was the kind of speech that was transcendent.
Which is probably what you meant with your comment on his Facebook page, saying that he taught you to look at the world upside down and not to take anybody's truth for something like that. You said, what exactly did he say?
Yeah, he really introduced it in his own way. He introduced that paradigm of investigate,
Right.
and put your own personality into it. Don't be afraid of who you are, because he was never really afraid of who he was.
Yeah, quite an extraordinary man. I think we agree. What would you like, the world to remember? Or what is the one thing you would like to say about him that should always linger?
Oh,
I know it's hard.
No, I think just his courage. And I never had any moments of feeling that he was not fully himself and fully reaching for something else too. It's one thing to be yourself. We say, oh, be yourself. But it's something else to have the courage to keep reaching and reaching a little bit ahead of everybody else,
to new things, and not take anything as a given, but to continue on in life. Yeah.
And continue to question,
Right. Yeah.
We get to a point in life sometimes that we think we have it all figured out, and we think our responsibility is to teach others. But if we do that, we miss out on the wonder of always becoming,
Wow. Oh,
and
that's so well put.
Always being a new person each day, which I think he tried to be.
I think he did too. And I love the way you put that into words, Danny, but you're an author. We know your book. So, do you by any chance, my copy is in Jamaica. Do you have one lying there? You can hold it up. This is the moment.
Yeah, give me about 10 seconds. I'll get
Sure, go. I'll take a sip of tea, because this is a very thirsty occupation.
Yeah.
So that's your book.
Yep.
Hold it so we can see it. So watch the screen.
Okay.
Yeah, you should have put your phone horizontal. You didn't. You did that. You did. Okay. No, that's not going to work. Hold the books.
Now I'm upside down, but the book is. There we go.
No, go back to the way you were, because this is a mess. Yeah. Just hold it in front of your face.
This, he's going to laugh his head off, give me a hard time. Here we go.
Yes, he will. He will. And so am I. It's called the Nobody can see it, Danny. Hold it in front of your face. Yes, The Renaissance Missionary, a wonderful book about your years with your family in Brazil. I read it. I kept it. I'm keeping it in my second house in Jamaica. My mom read it this winter. Danny, she loved it as well. So hold it a little bit more to your left, to your left, to your left, to your left. More. Oh, we're not seeing it. Move back. Yes, that's it. The Renaissance Missionary by Daniel Hickey. A wonderful story about his own life. And you're telling me that the one thing that you learned from Mr. FABISAK is to be yourself, which is what we're reading in the book, is about you becoming yourself, huh?
Just an aside, we're launching it in Recife in May.
Yeah.
We will be in May. My wife and Maria and I will be launching it in Recife. So,
oh, wow. And I wish I'd known. I could have booked a flight, but now it's too late. Will you be doing a live stream, Danny? You should, so we can all watch. I want to do a
live stream from his home church there. It's Ibura Baptist Church.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of enthusiasm for him there. So yeah.
Your dad's church you're talking about.
Yes. The church that he was co-founder of.
Exactly. Yeah.
Recife.
Oh,
But
wow.
but yeah, to get back to Mr. Fabisak, my dad loved Mr. Fabisak. He thought he was just the best teacher
Yeah.
at the school, him and
Yeah.
Miss Gatos. So
Yes.
yeah.
Because they were strict, but you knew exactly, which way they were thinking, and you knew what was expected of you. And they,
Yes.
both of them, they really pushed all their students. They weren't
Yes.
the coddly type of teacher for,
No.
do it, try it again. No, just do it.
Yeah.
Do it right. Right?
Yeah.
Mhm. That's wonderful. I'm sure you and I should do a proper session one time in which I talk with you about how your life went and how your book is written and all of that. I will be at some point, Danny, inviting you for that. I hope you'll oblige.
No, that would be an honor and be a lot of fun. So
It would
yeah.
be. I did one with Jim Spann, and it got a lot of looks, got a lot of views. So who knows what yours might bring up. And please do do the live stream when you do the book launch in Brazil. I really want to watch that.
Okay. We'll
All right.
send it out.
Thank you so much for joining.
Oh,
And
it was a joy. Thanks.
wonderful. Thank you. Bye,
All right.
Danny. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great that Danny got to join the program and tell us his perspective on what Mr. Fabisak was for so many people. Danny is now in the orange room. I'm telling you, Danny, you're very welcome to stay there. But alternatively, you can go out of the studio and watch on Facebook or on YouTube. It's all up to you. I don't mind you staying here. Let me continue where I was. Let me see. Yes, Mr. Fabisak was definitely a family man. Looking at his posts on Facebook, that's what we get to see. Him with his family, his son, his daughter, his grandchildren, of whom he had a few, his daughter Adriana and his son Bobby, and a couple of grandchildren, and featuring quite regularly in those. No, I'll get to that in a bit. We see so many group pictures, people having fun on the beach, having family meals, going on family hikes in the Brazilian countryside. I think it's fair to say that he led a fulfilling life surrounded by the people that he loved. And I would like to share with you the last post that Mr. Fabisak did himself on Facebook. Let me see if I can pull that up. There it is. It was on his last birthday, the 8th of July of 2021, in which he says, thanks for the birthday greetings. He got a ton of them. We're all fine, he said. I'm just getting old and feeble, and I hope all is well with you guys. And a ton of reactions came on to that. Look at that. It just kept going on and on and on and on. So Mr. Fabisak, that was his last post on Facebook on his birthday last July. And maybe it's a prophecy that he wrote what he wrote, and we didn't hear from him after that until we heard that he was no longer with us. He died at the end of January of this year, as I was telling you. And he was survived by his daughter Adriana and his son Bobby and a couple of grandchildren, like I was saying, and featuring mostly in his Facebook posts are granddaughters Lua and Mayara, whom you see right in the middle bottom there, Adriana and Bobby, and all family members. I'm sure I'm talking for all of us when I say heartfelt condolences. We will miss him. I can only imagine how it must be for you to have lost this wonderful father who touched so many lives all across the globe, because we are really spread out. We are all over the place, the people taught by your dad and your granddad, and all of us still remember him, and we will never let him go from our hearts. So wishing you love and strength in these very, very, very hard times. Adriana and Bobby. This is the part in the program before I end. I'm almost about to round up, and you don't want to leave just yet because it's something that Mr. Ed would have really liked. But this is the part of the program in which I tell you that my next episode will be at the end of April, the last Friday of every month. So that will be on the 29th of April. I will then be talking to social and cultural anthropologist Francio Guadalupe, who has a talent of taking the subjects that we talk about a lot these days, racism, the division of power in the world, and he switches them around and makes us think again. So that's another one of these very independent thinkers. And I'm thrilled he will be joining me next month from the Caribbean, which is where he's working right now, on April the 29th at 6 p.m. CET, Francio, Guadeloupe. I hope that you will be able to join me then and watch what he has to say and maybe learn a couple of things that you would not learn elsewhere, which is what this program is for. So next month that is, and that leaves me now with the end of this program. To honor Mr. FABISAK, Mr. Edward FABISAK Jr., I will be ending with a video that reminds me of a very vivid discussion we once had. All of his students, you have heard it today, had these discussions with him. I told him at one time that I was so sure that South America and Africa were linked together at some point because you could tell, is what I said, by their shapes. Now, Mr. Ed, in his very imperative way, said he wasn't denying it, but he expected me to come up with proper proof. He said, I try to teach you people to figure out things first, to prove what you say is right, and to do proper research. And he said that in that stern voice of his and that face of his with a big beard. And to be honest, my feelings were hurt. Sue me, I wasn't even 13 years old at the time when this happened. So yes, my feelings were hurt and I did not do my research at the time, but I've done it now, Mr. Ed, and I'm going to end with a video that proves I was right. I only wish I'd had sent it to you earlier. It proves I was right in saying South America and Africa were linked at some point in time, but it also proves something else that you taught us, that even if we were not neighbors, even if we lived in totally different parts of the world, we are all one. History, geography, and geology of 550 million years of this earth are testimony to that fact. So, Mr. Ed FABISAK, how shall I end this program? Let's do it in Jamaican style. Walk good in the great assembly of the skies. Your works and the memory that we have of you will live on forever. Thank you for all you did, Mr. FABISAK. And to you people watching, enjoy the video I'm about to end with. Thank you for watching. Thank you for participating. See you next month on the 29th. And until such time, be good, be kind, and stay safe. I'm out. Bye-bye.